Hey, I'm back. This is Chandler for Melder Production, and today I'm going to show you how you can use MTurbofilter to combine different types of filters and create your own new exciting filters. Basically, MTurbofilter has lots of features, and one of them is it allows you to kind of write your own algorithms for the different types of filters you want. And I'm going to try to show you some interesting things you can do that. This hasn't been released yet, as far as I know, and don't ask me when it'll be released because I don't know. But I will show you this and preview it for you, and if you have M Sound Factory, you already have it in there, so you can follow along with me. But anyways, I have M Sound Factory open. I'm doing it through here. It will have a standalone also, but I'm just going to go through here anyways right now. I just have this oscillator on. There we go. Now let's go and add MTurbofilter here. Now by default, it has this LP fast. And I could actually just leave this on. I could use something else, but I'll leave it here. I'm going to turn this up to maybe 50%. So we have that already. I think that sounds good. And just to make this a little bit more even so we can hear back and forth, let's go to B and we'll paste this in here. So now we have the same thing on A and B. Going back to A, I'll pop this out again. Let's write something that takes this LP filter and adds something to it. Let's add a bandpass filter and let's put it just maybe 1 octave above this or so. So we can write BP fast, put that in there, and it's doing that. And as you can see, this is really out of control. That resonance is too high. We definitely don't want that. So what we can do is go in here. We're going to add some brackets here. I'm going to put the frequency, which is this knob here, times 2, I guess. Actually, before I do any of this, let's backtrack for a second. And instead of me pushing this and doing this every time, let's add some automation to this. I guess modulation here. Like this. So we can just do a filter sweep. And every time I hit the note, it'll do it. Okay, that's easy enough to hear. Same thing here. Okay, sorry about that. Took a little quick detour. Now, as I was saying, I'm going to put that bandpass filter there. Put a parentheses there. And I want the frequency, but I don't want just the frequency. I want to multiply it by 2. And that's going to make it an octave up. Now I'm going to put this semicolon in here, and the next parameter will be our Q value. Now, by default, it's going to follow this Q here, this knob. But I want to set it to a fixed value because maybe that's a bit too high. So let's try 0.4 or so. Okay. And those are, I think, the only 2 I need here. I'll put the ending parentheses and then I'll put this in here. And so you can see here, this is above it now. If I wanted more, I could do, instead of 2, I could do 4. And if I want even more resonance, which might be good here, let's try 0.6. There we go. Now I think this sounds really interesting and maybe kind of like fun. So we can take this and let's compare it to B. And I think that's cool. So we have our own kind of like interesting filter here. Now for this, I probably want to increase the input because, as you see, the volume's down quite a bit. And if, let's say, I thought that's cool, but I don't want it to be above this note, I want it below. So I just take the same thing, and instead of multiplying it, I'm going to divide it. And then maybe 4 is too much. Let's try 2, like this. Ooh. Ooh. That's another thing. I may not want it to go all the way to 0 there. Like that, compared to this. Okay. And some problems there. When it gets close to the actual fundamental, it gets really loud. So you may or may not want to do that. But let's try something else. Instead of doing even numbers, you can try odd numbers. I'll multiply it again and try like this. Not 32. That's way too high. Try 3. You can try any number here that you want, really. And you get like interesting sounds. You can even try things like, let's try 2.7. I don't even know what interval that would be. It's not an octave anymore. 2.3. 2.9. And so you can kind of find what you want in there. You could also take this and try to use the character to move it up and down. So let's see here. If I have... I'm trying to think of the easiest way to do this. You can use the character here, but this is going to go positive and negative. So maybe it might be better to use the parameters here. So these are kind of new additions if you haven't seen MTurbofilter in a while. These default from 0 to 100, and I guess default is 0.5. So I can take that, let's say 4 octaves here. So I have 4. That's what I had it at before. And multiply by parameter 1, which is just P1. The problem is going to be if I move it all the way to 0. So let's just not do that for now. So that's how you can kind of move this around. You might be thinking like, I don't really like the bandpass because it's making it so much lower in volume. Another way or similar way you can do this, if you don't want to cut off the low end, is use peak filter. I don't know if there even is a peak fast. I'll just use the normal peak. And I believe all the parameters are the same. If you're not sure, look in here. Just click this little question mark near the algorithm, and it will give you the information about pretty much everything. And here you can see the different filters, peak, peak analog, etc. Is there a peak fast? Yeah, there is a peak fast. I'll use that. And here you can see how the parameters work. Frequency, next semicolon, Q value, the gain, the feedback, etc. So let's do peak fast. I'll set it maybe around the same Q value, and we'll mess with the frequency a bit also. Actually, probably need to move the gain up. So peak, I'll do F for the frequency times 2. That Q value, 0.6. Now the gain, let's start now at 5. Maybe that's good. Now put this in here. This. Oh, that's why it's not working. I didn't put a semicolon in here. No, I think okay. It maybe needs more than that. Let's try 15. I like that. You can get a little bit more like kind of a spacey vibe to it. But let's add 25. And compare it to what we had before. So you're getting like some kind of like interesting resonance up there. And as I said, you could do something else too. Let's try divided by 2. Or times, let's try 2.7. So you can hear like, oh, it kind of like really interesting and makes it sound different than your normal low pass filter. But let's try one more thing. So instead of using the peak filter or the band pass filter, we can also use a comb filter. Now for all of these, I would recommend making sure your limiter is on, but especially for these, I recommend doing that. So if we look in here, we're going to find our comb filter and see what our parameters are. Here, ratio, where are my comb filters at? Feedback comb. It should be a normal comb filter in here. Oh, where is it? That is one of the problems. It has so much stuff in here, it's sometimes hard to find exactly what you're looking for. Feedback, channel, compander, saturator, ratio, delay, comb. There we go. So the first one is the amount of feedback controlled by C. Analog, I don't really need to mess with. Minimum frequency 20, and then we have frequency 1. So I'll put like C, 0, 20, and then our frequency. Here we go. Comma, C, 0. Ooh, I'm forgetting what it was. And then was it frequency? There we go. Now, hopefully this works. I might need to adjust the character, bring this down or up. So edging here is doing some kind of strange things when I'm moving the character. So this is the feedback. And if I move it up, it's going to increase the feedback. If I move it to the left, it's actually negative feedback, like this. So that can be interesting. I would recommend not having it go exactly to 0 because it could cause some like resonance to really ring out here as it gets to the bottom, like this. If you like that, it's cool, but sometimes it's like, you know what? Actually, I don't want that to happen. So by stopping a little bit early before it gets to that fundamental, it kind of stops that. So that's something you can kind of play with if you want. I could also put like a notch filter in there and just notch the main frequency if I really wanted, but I don't think that's necessary. Another thing I can do is I can try moving the frequency up like this. Let's see, times 2. Or times 4. I don't think that's quite as interesting, but something that is more interesting, at least to me, is maybe dividing it like this. So now it should go under the fundamental like this. At least if I put the things in the correct place, which I may not have done. Don't tell me I messed up the syntax. Comb. It's minimum frequency. What am I doing? Yeah, so this should be 20. Boom. And then F. There we go. Don't mess up like I did. Okay, and now let's try F times 2. You can also divide it by 2, like I said. Here we go. let's try even more, divided by 4. This is like really interesting to me, so I think, oh, this is kind of something interesting I might want to try. Kind of gives it like a robot sound. Maybe I haven't heard before. Let's see if I turn the feedback up, what it sounds like. So for me, that's pretty interesting. So I'd probably play with that more and kind of refine it to get exactly what I want. I could even do like other values here. So like, let's say 1.4 like this. And I'm just using 2 filters here, and I think you get like a really interesting idea of what it can do. I'll move it back to 1 just so you hear that. As opposed to just this. And you can experiment with this more to, get whatever you want. Actually, move this up to 50 so you can hear it. And you can even do tons of other things. There's other filters in here besides what I showed. As I said before, you can use the parameters to adjust some of these things. And the best thing is, if you come up with something cool, you can just use the presets and save it in here and just use it again. By doing this, you can make like a really versatile filter that maybe nobody's heard before. And so that's one of the cool things about MTurbofilter, so I thought I'd show you it. If you like this, give me a thumbs up. If you have any questions about it, leave me a question or comment down below, and be sure to check out all the other plugins at melderproduction.com. Till next time, see you.